The car you're looking at here, and I can't read the number, um, but it's in the 30,600 series.
Yeah,
And the Monon,
30619 it looks like.
okay, the Monon uh, ended up with 50 of these cars, and they were originally leased from North American Car. And what's odd about that is this is the Pullman standard car that KD makes. So, and keep in mind, Pullman Standard was on the Monon. So apparently the Monon had a financial arrangement with North American Car, but they wanted their cars built by Pullman. So North American financed Pullman built cars to operate on the Monon. And so these things originally came lettered NAHX. The numbers didn't change. And you see at some point the financial arrangements changed and they substituted the MON reporting mark, painting out the NAHX. And these were primarily used for sand when they got them. Michigan City's full of sand and they were hauling all over the place. So go ahead to the next slide. Okay, here's another one. This is an example of a better repaint. Um, they were able to change the reporting marks and keep everything looking almost like it came from the factory that way. And you could model these. All you got to do is get the KD car and you can piece this lettering together. I think K4 makes a decal set that might work for this car. If not, you get a couple of pieces from another set and you can finish it. But nice looking car. These came on the scene about 1963. So I do have one on the layout, even though 1959 is about as late as I'm supposed to go. So go to the next one. Another example, a little more obvious what happened. It looks like the car's been reassigned based on what you see in the center of it. Go ahead. And this one's an even better example. If you take a look at what the shops did, they painted out everything below the MONON and the Herald, and then repainted all that and blended it in so well. If you didn't know better, you'd think it was originally that way. Go ahead. This is one of the few air slide cars they had. Probably at any given time, they had no more than 10 of them on the roster in a couple of different series. Here again, that odd paint scheme. And this was a lettering scheme that a lot of the manufacturers adopted on new cars in the mid 60s. And it didn't have the stylized MONON. Um, and here again, I believe there's a cow set out there for it. This is well, this is the first um, three bay covered hopper that the Bonon operated. They bought the first 50 of them and put them in sand service, and those were painted boxcar red with white lettering. You can see this one's been relettered, or I mean the reporting marks have been changed to MON, but other than that, it was delivered as a CIL car about 1954. And oddly, Monon covered hoppers are gray, except this group that was in sand service. So the first 50 of them were boxcar red. Go ahead. The Monon had somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 two-bay covered hoppers. Some had the open center area and some of them didn't. However, they were in pretty bad shape by the late 60s. So they picked 100 of these cars. I don't know if they ever got 100 of them completely rebuilt, but they rebuilt them, eliminated the square hatches, went to round hatches, and refurbished the cars. And so you've got a mix of the open center and the closed center cars, but they reworked up to 100 of these cars and promptly placed them in sand service. They also painted the trucks on these cars. That's unusual. Okay, this next slide's a test. We're trying to determine the gender of this alligator, and I don't think there's going to give us a hint. So try the next slide. And what this is a piece of advertising that the Monon created. This is a metal casting, And if you can look at it closely, it shows the body of the alligator is the Monon route, and then the feet are the branches of where it goes, like to Indianapolis,
mm,
Michigan City, French Lick, and I think the coal mine route, Midland down to Midland.
uh,
And of course, the tail goes down to Louisville and on down into the southern states. You open that thing up, and it's got a place I think you're supposed to put matches in there. Um,
mm,
these things are kind of hard to find. I ended up with three of them, but um, I don't need you only need one. But then somebody reproduced them, so there's a way to tell. And I can't remember exactly how it is. It's the way there's some roll pins that are installed in there, and somehow that variation will tell you whether it's a reproduction or the real thing. But they all look about the same to me. Go ahead. This is just a shot of a train from Indianapolis going northbound through Frankfurt, and it went right once it passed the station there on the west side of Frankfurt going northbound. It went right in front of a bunch of stores. Nothing really much to see here. That's nickel plate in the foreground. Uh, this is a Monon passenger train, either five or six in the latter days. The C620 or C420s. The Monon had 18 of them. Two of them had high hoods and boilers in them, and they were purchased for use in passenger service. These didn't arrive until I think it's 1966. So when you see one of these, it'll be after 1966. But then at some point, they pushed the
mm.
F7s back into passenger service, and you didn't know what you were going to see up until the end, which was 1967. That's when Monon passenger service ended. Go ahead. This is the last train. Uh, Locomotive 510 is not a high hood 420. They're running backwards, and this was the locomotive they
Mm.
dolled up for the final run. And that last car is a business car, and they're on their way into Chicago for the last time. Go ahead. This is a Coke car. Um, what's unique about this car, as with all post World War II Monon Coke cars like this with this configuration, they were built on top of stone gondolas. So if you imagine this thing as a gondola, those are the uprights for the stone gondola. And
Mm.
stone gone means for hauling cut stone. Well, they built this body and lowered it down on this chassis and then bolted it all down, and you had a Coke car. So the top is open, and you board up the doors with boards like a grain door, and they loaded hot Coke in uh, from the top of the car. Um, and there's another configuration. I don't know. Go ahead and see if the other configurations in here. This is it. Um, then later cars were built again for Coke service, still on those stone gone chassis, uh, but they didn't make use of the gondola uprights. They just built their own bracing and attached it to the car. You can see where they're riveted there to the frame. Now, when I mention a stone gun, what that means is um, the car was built to haul cut stone. Cut stone is not it's not as hard as it gets after it's been above the surface for a year or two. So even though the artisans had cut it to size, and in many times they milled it into circular things, posts and things like that, it all had to be loaded in a car that had wood floor and wood sides. And then they used a lot of Excelsior in there with it and blocking to keep it from moving around. So that's what the stone gons were for. And the Monon had, I think, around 600 of those things in the 20s, and built in the 20s, and they were sturdy as hell. And they made all kinds of stuff out of them as the stone business dwindled. Go ahead. Yeah, there's the whole car where the body was uh, made, and you had the ability to just drop it down on the car. Um, that's a composite car, so there's a lot of wood in that. And I don't know if you know much about coke making, but they take coal and heat it to about 1400 degrees, and all the liquids come out of it, I guess, and that leaves you coke, which makes for a very hot fire once it's used by the end user. Um, so they have to cool it down. They quench it with water, and sometimes that quenching didn't work as well as it was supposed to, and these wood cars would get on fire. You The train that picked them up in Indianapolis, taking them north, which is how they were handled, uh, were constantly on the lookout for smoke from coke cars that might ignite and burst into flames, and they might have to set the car out and call the volunteer fire department. So, go ahead. This is Hammond, Indiana, and it's crossing Watchman Shanty there. Uh, so you had the guy in the tower that controlled all the signals, but you still had a guy that in the lower, the smaller shacks that walked out there with the sign and stopped traffic. And there were quite a few railroads that went through this particular spot in Hammond, Indiana. Go ahead. Another view of the same thing. That's the Monon station there in the background. It was a Bedford cut stone station, like that stone we talked about hauling in the stone gonds. Go ahead. This one is at Frankfurt, and it actually protects the crossing. The nickel plate operated this, and it protect their crossing with the Pensy and the Monon, which were both within sight of each other. So um, that was it. That's what it was used for. They ultimately automated this thing, and you had to have a key and activate a signal, and it was a timer and all that until you could cross. Go ahead. This is the tower at Clay City, and I believe this is the only tower that is actually owned by the Mona. This is a New York Central crossing, and the reason the tower uh, is well, the reason this is the only tower is the Monon was usually the first one there, and therefore they were not responsible for building the structure to protect the crossing. In this case, the Monon got there after the Central was already there, and because this is a branch going down to Midland, Indiana, which is the coal branch. And I might call your attention to the outhouse that is behind the station. Uh, in my older years, I've become fixated on outhouses and modeling them. And if you start looking at your station pictures and things like that, they're all over the place. So
Yep.
I went on a campaign, and I probably built 20 outhouses now and put them all over the lake because there were a lot
Isn't
of them around in 58. And I recommend the Tichy outhouse kit. You can make a lot of different things out of that, and it's fun. Go ahead. Including a two-holer. Theirs is a one-holer, but you can put them together and make two-holers out of them. So this is a wreck that occurred on the Monon. They're just picking up this uh, tank car, which I believe that's probably a car fertilizer. It was. You can see the dome lids open, so they unloaded it first before they picked it up. That would make it easier to pick up. And now they're going to set it on trucks and haul it off for final repairs. Go ahead. This is a shot at the Lafayette engine terminal looking north. Um, Coaling tower there in the center, of course. And this thing that you see to the left of that is a wash rack. They had people that could get up high on a locomotive and wash them with pressure washers. And then, of course, you could stand on the ground and get the lower part. Um, the sand tower, once steam was gone, and steam was pretty well gone by the end of 19, I mean, it wasn't pretty well, it was gone by the end of 1949. They retained the Coaling Tower's sanding capabilities, and it held sand for years. They had to go from the terminal out to the cooling tower to sand all the locomotives and then take them back. Go ahead. This is a billboard. I also model billboards. You'd be amazed at how many of those things are around, and they tell you a little bit about the era that you're in and the area that you're in. And this one is a Monon Centennial billboard, so that dates it to around 1947 when the railroad was 100 years old. And I believe this is on the end of the station at Crawfordsville. Go ahead. Here's another billboard. That's really why I like this picture, but you'll
Mm.
probably wonder what's that thing under it. And that was a former pile driver. This is one of those stone gonds that they fabricated a steel body for and had and left all the apparatus or built all the apparatus in there where the doors open and they could raise the boom and so it had to have an idler car. And this was the company pile driver for a lot of years. Um, and this is pretty typical of some of the stuff they built um, out of those stone gonds. I mean, about every other maintenance car was a stone gone at one time. Go to the next slide. I think the sign a little closer. This sign could be seen from US 52. So US 52 crossed by the north end of the Lafayette shops, and they put a billboard up there advertising the railroad. That's on my list to model. That shouldn't be that hard to do. Uh, Go ahead. This is the Monon's station and freight house at um, Michigan City, Indiana. Now, passenger service ended in the 30s up to Michigan City, maybe the late 20s, but this was still a pull-through freight house. They also had an area in there that the locomotive crews, the train crews laid over in. I guess it wasn't very nice. Then there was also the freight house, and this is where they kept the locomotives and everything. And of course, the all the administrative work for Michigan City was done at this location. And it's within eyesight of the station that's still there that was the Lakeshore Michigan Southern station. But this has been torn down. Go ahead. This is a unique load,
It's
and I've got
also
several shots of it. Um, the guys that have more knowledge about the military than I do, I can tell you this is a U.S. Navy Mark IV gun housing that was used on a destroyer. That's according to my buddy, the late Tim Hackett. And what the Monon did was they got these off the Erie, and they were on these specially built cars, and they hauled them to Louisville, where they transferred them to the L&N, and the L&N took them to a local machining area that was operated by the Navy, and they did some machine work on these, and then sent them right back the other direction. Go ahead. There's another view of one, and the cars that hauled them. They only had less than 10 of these cars, and there wasn't much to them. I built a model of them as best I could from the pictures I had. I started with a Central Valley flat car and changed the configuration of the sides and built the floor and built up the placards and so forth. So it's a real interesting load. Go to the next one. It says right you can't hump it, which Monon didn't have any hump yards anyway. But what they did have to do was they placed these on the head end of a local train, and this thing had to go from clear up north on the Michigan City branch from where they intersected with the Erie, clear down to Louisville, and the train was not allowed to pass through a bridge or any other close clearance at anything other than walking speed. So they had to slow down, and there had to be a guy on each side of this car to walk it through all the bridges and other close clearances. So they call it said walking speed only. So I find on the model railroad my crews just hate these things, and so it's kind of fun. The real railroad hated them too, but what they would do is a a crew would take it as far as they could, and then they realize they're gonna run out of time if they keep screwing around at walking speed. So they set the car out and made a run for it and could get in before they outlawed. So you never knew where these things were going to get set out and where somebody had to pick them up and continue the trip. And the same thing happens on the model railroad and just annoys the hell out of guys. Go ahead. This is a station that I have on the layout I modeled. This is Reynolds, Indiana. This is the Pensy crossing, and that's actually a Pensy Class A station. So I had to figure out what a Pensy Class A station was and figure out how to model it, which a friend of mine did the modeling. But interesting location. And to the left there is a freight house. And the freight house has an unloading platform that served both railroads so they could interchange less than carload freight among themselves. Go ahead. Same thing. This is the rental station. That's a Monon, northbound Monon train coming at you. And this is the main line. Doesn't look like it in this picture, but this is the main line. Go ahead. This is the freight house at downtown Lafayette. And that's a Railway Express truck that's backed up to one of the dock doors. But this is where they handled all the LCL in Lafayette, Indiana. Go ahead. This is another view of a different part of the freight house. Um, and those are company vehicles in front of it, believe it or not. This is also in Lafayette. Go ahead. The Monon got into trailer on flat car service in 1954, right along with everybody else, really. I mean, there's evidence of it, uh, trailer on flat car service with other railroads prior to this time, but everybody got really serious about it in 1954 and 55. So the Monon took those stone guns I've been telling you about, and they took a total of 50 of them and made flat cars out of them and had all the apparatus and stuff to attach a trailer to them, and that's what you see here in this drawing. And then they named it trailer made, like the maid in the house or whatever rail service. So go ahead. Everybody had to have a cute name. This is another one of those cars. This is the front of an annual report, and 1957. That's a brand new Fruhoff trailer there. I can only document they had two of them, but this one got photographed for the front of the annual report anyway. There may have been more, but I've only been able to find two. Uh, and these were 35 footers, and they just barely fit on those 40-foot flats. Go ahead. Closer picture. I modeled these flats. Penline made this car, and if you take the clunky stuff off, it's a pretty decent model. It didn't have any rivets, but I got a guy to uh, mold or make uh, the side rivet patterns in resin, and you just put them on, and your car had riveted sides. And then I put a wood floor in them, and added the bridge plates, ramps they call them, and the tie. Well, I didn't add any tie down stuff. The Monon decided to invent their own hitch that held the trailers on. So I found out about what those looked like and made models of those. So mine have got automatic hitches or collapsible hitches on them. But I think I built about six of these things, and they're great. I mean, they're made out of cast metal, and they just roll around the layout and don't give me any trouble at all. Go ahead. We think this is one of the first trailers that the Monon handled. Um, the logo up there indicates that this is an Ayers cartage trailer, and it looks like they numbered it TR 315, and that may be a number. Now, to give you an idea, I told you how the Monon got their flat cars for intermodal service. The trailers were all leased from a company in Chicago named Ayers Cartage. And it looks to me like Ayers Cartage bought every used, beat up, and junk trailer they could find in Chicago and painted it black and leased it to the Monon. Go ahead. So this is kind of a unique picture. The trailer in the center is pretty typical of what the Monon leased from Ayers, and they painted them black and then put the yellow striping on it, as you see there, and that was pretty common. The cars fore and aft of that are not as common. What we think happened was the Monon hit a pretty big contract with Reynolds Metals of Louisville to haul extruded aluminum. And extruded aluminum was typically loaded with an overhead crane, so they needed to be open top trailers. So these two trailers, the one in the front and the one in the back, are open top, means that they have a tarpaulin that goes over the top, and it's not present in this photo. They're not present. So we think what happens is the Monon bought up to 10 of these things, and they just had to go and find whatever they could wherever it was at, and it didn't matter what color. They had to have 10 cars in a hurry. Go ahead. I said, I mean 10 trailers in a hurry. And this is one of those trailers that it's hauling the 500th load of this Reynolds Metals business. And as you can see, the tarp is not on the trailer. So I hope it's laying in the nose. And and of course, if you've been in, know anything about trucking, if there's all kinds of stuff truck drivers don't want to do, and right at the top of the list is installing a tarpaulin on a trailer. You don't want to roll a tarp if it's on there, and you don't want to put one on it if it isn't. Go ahead. Now, this is a shot of just one of the uh, car or one of the trailers that Ayers came up with. And this one didn't get very much lettering on it, just got the Bowen on and then the Ayers cartage lettering, and that was it. And it got a nice long number. So, um, and this is one of those collapsible hitches that were installed on some of the Monon cars. Go ahead. These two guys taking a break after they installed this trailer on this particular flat car, but that's a typical Monon trailer, all dinged and bent up but painted nicely. And these guys had to manually uh, jack this, chain this thing down, then jack it up tight against the chains, and then they had to tie down the rear and then jack the rear up so that it was tight against the chains. And that's how they loaded these once they were rolled on there circus style. Now, what's kind of unique about this trailer, and I modeled it because of that, is well, first of all, it's got a side door. But what's unusual about that is it's on the road side rather than on the curb side. So normally when you're delivering freight, you're going to pull on, if you're doing it, if you're doing it that way, you want the door on the curb side. So I don't know what they thought they were going to do with the door on this side, but it's got one. So I modeled it. Go ahead. And this is a more, well, this is the same trailer. I'm sorry. It's just the side door is just not as obvious. Go ahead. These are two trailers that aren't finished yet, and I think they must have needed them pretty bad. So off they went, and they needed to get them back to install the lettering. But that's the initial paint work that was done. And as far as I can tell from everything the people I've talked to, Ayers Cartage pulled all the maintenance on these trailers, and apparently did all the painting and lettering on them also. So if you had a trailer that uh, the freight busted out of the back end due to rough handling, it went to Ayers for repairs. The Monon did not touch these trailers. Go ahead. And this is one of the open tops that did get repainted into the company paint. So it got painted black, and they couldn't put the trailer made rail service on diagonally, nor could they paint it directly on the trailer. So they welded thin metal along the side, and then install the lettering on that. And then, of course, you see where the tarp is pulled down and strapped along that rail along the bottom. Uh, I've modeled one of these. It's kind of fun to get the paint and the panels to match up, and then and the decals and everything. So go ahead. And occasionally the Monon handled private company trailers. Among them, you could get trailers that were brand new and weren't hauling anything. They were just taking them out for delivery. Uh, and then this uh, Sexton company, I don't know if they're still around or not, but they used to do a lot of work with hotels. I wouldn't think they would use piggyback service though, but we've got one here on a Monon trailer or a Monon flat car anyway. Go ahead. The Monon had a couple of low side trailers like you see here, but we've never really been able to get any good photographs, anything good enough to determine what the numbers were, and they don't appear to show up in uh, the the registers. So that tells me they were company service trailers, and they still got moved around on the piggyback cars. But uh, and yeah, this is kind of interesting. This piggyback ramp is uh, well, it's either the car with one truck taken off of it, or they dug a hole and run the car down in it. I think that's what they did is they dug a hole and ran the car down in it, and then the trailer would just come right off that way. One
Um,
thing to know and keep in mind is, and if you're doing this even on your model railroad, the Monon's trailers all faced south, and all the piggyback ramps were oriented so they could be unloaded from the south end of the trailer. So, it was all piggyback ramp loading, and so nobody had to. If they were loaded right to begin with, uh, then there was no turning of flat cars or anything like that to unload a trailer. They all lined up the same. Go ahead, and that's
Sexton
for the
brand, the Sexton brand apparently is still around. Um, but it's part of U.S. Foods,
oh, okay, yeah,
and it's called Rykoff Sexton because Sexton merged with the Rykoff Company in 1994 and then became part of U.S. Foods in 97.
okay.
So
I
so
can remember.
You might still see Sexton around somewhere.
Mhm. Well, I remember those big gallon cans of peaches or something, pears that they had
Hmm.
at school when I was into high school. So the
Yeah,
kitchen they served, they took that stuff to the commercial kitchens for the schools.
that's basically
Uh,
what they did was they served restaurants and institutions.
yeah, yeah. But I don't think they need piggyback service to do that. So I'll bet that was a new trailer being delivered.
Yeah.
That was a nice Fruhoff Aero van. This is a Fruhoff 40-foot railroad spec tandem van. Uh, the only thing that's different about it from most trailers like it is the front bulkheads beefed up just a little more. The heavy metal goes up a little higher. This, I believe, is the Athearn trailer with a few modifications. Um, so you might, if you want to model one, this would be a good place to start. And the Monon went through a period of after they got rid of the black and yellow trailers. They were just too short. Customers didn't want them. They got the 40 footers here, and they started out with black lettering, and that went on for a while. But I think you'll see examples of others in here. Go ahead. Yeah, here's the most. I think the last batch. These were the Fruhoff Z vans, and this was the lettering style that they had. And these lasted well into the 70s, maybe even the early 80s. They didn't, apparently the lease was there. And if you, in railroad trailer leasing, if it was a permanent lease, you could get your name put on the trailer. If it was a temporary lease, like you go to a pool and I need 5 trailers today, you're going to get the same trailers, but they're not going to have your name on them. So the railroads could always get a better deal with a long-term lease, plus they get their identity on them too. And So the Monon trailers showed up quite a bit. Go ahead. This is a picture of an Ayers cartage truck, and I think that's old man Ayers standing there, but I don't know what his first name is. In the trucking business, we call him the old man if it's the owner. They call me the old man at our trucking company. So, um, but anyway, it's a nice WC22 white, and that's a Fruhoff trailer, and it looked like a lot of the trailers that Ayers leased to the Monon, because the Monon had local trailers, and we think they had as many as 20 local trailers in the Chicago area delivering less than carload freight. Um, and of course, their Ayers probably did, or Ayers did that work for the Monon, but the Monon had trailers lettered for that service to uh, help sell it and market the service. Go ahead. This is one of those trailers I just mentioned. This is just a short pickup delivery trailer. And this trailer is at South Hammond, Indiana. And you can see that's a pretty big place. The reason you know it's a pretty big place is if you've got 35 doors, and I think we're 35 and counting here, that's a pretty good sized dock. So the box cars of LCL came in on the west side of the building, and the trailers were spotted on the right side of the building, and Dockman unloaded the box cars and sorted it out and put it in the trailers to take it out for local delivery. Now, this was done initially in downtown Chicago. And in 1954, the Monon built a nice new state-of-the-art office building with freight house attached. And they moved that operation down there. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. What they used to do is they'd haul the LCL all the way to downtown Chicago and then load it in their truck, and they may very well haul it right back down to South Hammond and deliver it to somebody. So they just hauled it all to South Hammond. Then they'd load those 10 trucks up and send them throughout Chicago, finishing the balance of the trip by truck. So they took it to a good sorting area, and that they could then go all directions from there. And South Hammond served that purpose. So it was a pretty good strategic move to try to make money off from LCL. And
Is
that
that a
also
30,
pretty much, say again,
is that a 32-foot trailer?
I think it's a 30 footer, maybe even 28.
28.
Yeah. Yeah. Not very big. Here again, it was a local delivery truck, so you didn't want a real big one. So you could, because you're going to take it to downtown Chicago and make deliveries. Um, but that was kind of an interesting little change in the operation. And at the same time that they changed that, they closed the freight transfer at Monon. It used to be all the LCL got sent to Monon. They sorted it out on a what they called the transfer dock there, and sent boxcar loads to all the locations that had freight houses on the system, which were about seven of them. To give you an idea what that means, I model that freight transfer operation at Monon, and you've got to have seven cars loading, seven cars in transit, and seven cars at destination. So you've got 21 box cars, clean, dry, odor-free box cars in that system. So we try to use all Monon box cars, but the yard master at Monon at times has to grab whatever is available in order to have enough cars to serve the those different destinations. And of course, there's pull times for when we have to pull a freight house to get the cars on the trains. And back in those days, the LCL car was the one right behind the head in caboose on a Monon local train. So they were switching cars all down around the system, as well as unloading LCL freight at the stations. Go ahead. These are just nice shots of a Monon flat car. I think these were built in the late 40s. Does that say 1952 on it? Might be. Um, I think they only had about 50 of them. Yeah, 1952. And that's the Walthers car, so it's not hard to model. In fact, they may have even modeled that car number. I know I've got a car I want to model it. Walthers made that car number, uh, so it has like a load of graders on it, road graders, military road graders. And I've got the graders built, and I need to load them on the car. And I've got the routing through my cars, and I've got one that number, so I'm all set. Go ahead. And there's another one. This one's got a load of Jeeps on it. Uh, I hadn't really planned to model this. I can't afford to. Uh, what they're getting for a Jeep model anymore. Used to be given for $1.99, and now they're they're nicer, but they're just way too expensive. So, and there's 8 Jeeps on that car. Still a nice, interesting load though. Go ahead. The Monon had probably about 300 of these things, and the in the until 1926, the Monon didn't have any hopper cars, so this was it. And these were built 1926 and prior, and they were drop bottom cars. And this is primarily how the coal was online coal was handled, was in these cars. And they didn't haul much of the stone in them, the cut stone. That was a different bunch of cars. But so this is the USRA clones, as we call them. Go ahead. This is another one of those USRA clones with a load of coal, and that end, we call it the bullseye end, is a unique end. I know Chad Boaz has molded these in resin for us, so we can take the Intermountain car and put those ends on it, and we've got a pretty good replica of a Monon car there. I have several of them running around the railroad. The bad news is they were all off the roster by 1949. However, after 1949, some of them got new numbers, and they were assigned to quarry to mill service. And quarry to mill service is a death sentence for a freight car. Uh, they used them in the quarries to drop those huge blocks of stone on them and take them the few miles to the mills where they did the fine work on them. And of course, these cars weren't suitable for interchange. Some of them didn't have brakes. It was pretty bad. They were basically ignored to death once they were put in that service. Go ahead. This is one of the stone gons. He's got a load of ties on here, but they've got a washout. They're rebuilding that washout, and so they're cribbing it up with ties, and then they'll put ballast in on top of that. But and that car right to the left of this stone gon is a ballast hopper with side outlets. So, but that's one of the stone cars. It's got a wood floor, wood sides, wood ends, and they would load the cut stone in those. And then the Monon just had tons of them as the stone business diminished, and they made everything out of it. Unfortunately, Chad Boaz makes that chassis without anything on it. You can do anything you want with them. They even made head end cabooses for out of them. So go ahead. Another one of the stone gons, a little older lettering scheme, but you can see this one's in maintenance service. He's got looks like a clamshell bucket in there, and heaven knows what else is in that. There's probably some sort of crane on the next car there that'll use that bucket. And you see another one of those stone gons in the background. Go ahead. And here's another one in maintenance service, all kinds of junk. This one actually has a revenue number. They ended up getting numbered in the 6,000 series. There were only 10 of them that they actually the maintenance department could claim as theirs. And they were numbered in that series, but they were using this one. And so kind of interesting junk car. Go ahead. This is a builder's photo, and it's not very good. I had to take a picture of a framed picture on a wall to get this. Pullman Standard built 300 of these for the Monon in the late 40s, 48, I think. And these were the first steel gons on the Monon, and they made pretty good use of them. They got beat to death. Go ahead. This is one that's the number series was 3001 to 2999. Is that right? No, 30299, 3299. Anyway, 300 cars. So then they decided to rebuild a group of, and it ended up being a total of 14 cars. They numbered them in the 3300 series, and they were built for carrying uh, containers that carried Coke. So these were the new Coke cars. You put those steel containers in there, then fill them up with Coke, and then they lift them out with cranes at the point of at the delivery point and unload them. Go ahead. Another gone with junk in it. Go ahead. This is a, it's not a very good picture, but the Monon took 100 of those cars in the late 60s, sent them to, oh, the shop down in southern Indiana that used to be a B&O shop, had them rebuilt. And they came back and they were painted black with white lettering, and they were in the 30,000 series, and there were no heralds on these cars. And this one looks like it's been banished to quarry to mill service. That's what they ended up looking like at the end. But go ahead. This is a composite gun. It was built in 1952 by Thrall, and it's sitting inside the Lafayette car shops. First one I ever saw. And what happened was the Monon had about 600 stone guns, but they were getting old, a little long in the tooth. And somebody in the marketing department convinced the board of directors that they needed more stone cars. So they had a fleet of 100 gondolas built, but they were composite. And what they really are flat cars with wood sides added to them. There's no stake pockets. They just bolted or riveted on those uprights. And then those are wood sides, wood ends, and a wood floor. So we had a modern car that could be placed in cut stone service, but there wasn't enough business to support it. Go ahead. So here's one that has been through the Lafayette shops, and the wood has been removed, and all of the wood's been replaced with steel. So those are steel panels on the sides and the ends. I'm not sure about the floor, and it looks like it's going to load a load of junk somewhere. But they converted some of these to standard gondolas. What the Monon did when they found out they had something that was good, but they didn't have a use for it. Boy, they it's like vultures that swooped down on those groups of cars, and they made all kinds of stuff out of them. But probably half of them got the steel sides and ended up being nice 53-foot 6-inch gondolas. Go ahead. This is one of those the Thrall cars, but it's unique in that they extended the sides about 6 inches. So if you looked at it really close, you would see where they had extended those side uprights by 6 additional inches. And then this thing was fitted with a removable roof, had 3 sections of removable roof installed on top of it. And they were hauling, here again, I think they said it came out of Alcoa aluminum in Lafayette, and I believe they were helicopter blades, is what they were shipping. This was during the Vietnam War, and they were building helicopter blades there and shipping them in these cars, and they were covered. Go ahead. Now here's one with the top, the lid on it, and pretty decent looking car, really. But here again, you get one of these cars, and then you realize you got to model 6 more inches of it. It's kind of hard to extend it upwards. The railroad just welded additional upright, and that's all they had to do to get it this way. Go ahead. The railroad had right around, I think, about 50 of these 65-foot Milgons. They, they handled a certain amount of steel out of the region up around Chicago, and so you had a lot of structural steel, long structural steel got handled, in these 65-foot cars. This particular car has been converted, and it's covered, and here again, it was for that helicopter blade business out of Alcoa. Go ahead. This is one of the composite cars from that series. Now remember, there are only 100 cars, and you see what's happening to them here. 5 of them got converted to coil steel cars. So they put coil steel racks in them and then built hoods for them to go on top of them, stackable hoods, and took all the wood out. No sense having the wood there, and you've got yourself a coil or a coil steel gondola. Go ahead. This is a car that I'm in the process of modeling, wheel car. The Monon had a wheel lathe, so they turned all the wheels for the whole railroad and took in outside work also. So you were constantly uh, bringing wheels in and hauling wheels out of the Lafayette shops, and for to various destinations. So the car is a no-brainer to model. I mean, you can use the Tichy wheel sets, and I'm not talking about how easy it is to model, because it's not, because you got to build all that wood blocking. It looks like they block the wheels each time, and so that part is kind of hard. But when you think about it, once you load the car, you're hauling wheels in and getting them turned and hauling them back out again, and the wheels rust rather quickly, whether they're have been turned or they're in use or not in use. So you can haul your rusty wheels both ways on the model railroad and just say they were turned and not turned, and you don't really have to load or unload the car to do it. Go ahead. This is a shot of FM switcher number 18. It was built, I think, about 1946 or 47. It's the only FM H1044 the railroad had, and that's the Lafayette shops that's the diesel shops in the background. Building up on the hill there is the yard office, and we're down in the bowl of the yard. Uh, that locomotive has got an EMD engine in it. Uh, it got repainted into the scheme you see there at the time that the opposed piston engine was removed in 1961, and the EMD 567 was installed in its place. Crews say it was more fun when it had the FM engine in it because it run better. It was faster, quicker. The EMD wasn't quite as quick to load up. And interestingly, to the right, you see a reefer lettered Monon. That's actually an ice car. That's an old fruit grower's car that apparently either got purchased or was going to get scrapped, and the railroad bought it, and they used that for ice for cabooses and passenger cars and so forth. So I think they took it down to the ice plant there in Lafayette, loaded it up, brought it back, and used out of it. Go ahead. This is the FMH10 before it got the EMD engine. Nice looking locomotive. Monon switchers all had marker lights on the front, so they could run out on the road if they had to. They hardly ever had to, but they still had them. And this is just your standard H10. I've got one of the Walthers models, and as did this locomotive. It spent its entire life working the north end of the yard at Lafayette, Indiana, and that's where my model of 18 works here on the layout. Go ahead. This is 45 and 46, the two FM H1044s Monon purchased about a year later. These two have got EMD engines in them now. They were re-engined in 1960, I believe. This is a southbound local at Salem, Indiana. And the reason you know it's a local is that first car behind the second engine is a rider car or a head-end caboose. Both terms were used on the Monon interchangeably. But that's where the conductor and the head brakeman rode. And of course, the rear brakeman was on the back end. But this allowed the railroad to have the conductor right up there where the action is on a local, which is the head end, so he could deal with customers and or station agents and line up the work and so forth. So he was right there where the action was. Go ahead. This is the set of FM switchers in the original paint. Here again, another local. He's toting around his head end caboose. And I think this is a shot at Bedford where they're doing some work there. Go ahead. Note the yellow stop sign too, by the way. And yeah, see it on the left down at the bottom. Here we are at Michigan City. Looks like the FMs have brought a train in up here as well as the F unit that you see sitting there. The Monon ran 2 trains a day up to Michigan City. There was a through freight out of Lafayette, and then a local that originated at Monon. So I imagine the FMs were on the local. Go ahead. In the later years, the Monon had tri-level auto racks, and they were I don't know, the racks came from one place and the cars came from another, but they had about 30 of them. And you'll notice they're loaded with Oldsmobiles. That was their big business. They picked up Oldsmobiles off the Grand Trunk at Haskell's, Indiana, and took them down to Louisville for further distribution on the southern lines. What is interesting about these cars is, does everybody know what a Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser was?
Oh yeah.
Station. Okay, good, good. Station wagon that had a little additional headroom in the back. Well, the Monon knew these were coming out, so they went and raised a bridge where there was uh, a tight clearance so they would clear the Oldsmobiles. And so then the first load went down through there, and a guy on a southbound train got a report from a northbounder that said, you got tops missing off all your Oldsmobiles on the top level. As it turned out, the road department had they had dug out under the wrong bridge, and so the clearance problem wasn't eliminated. And I guess the company officials were driving Oldsmobiles for quite a few years after that. The railroad bought them and fixed them for their own use, but they just changed the wrong clearance, and that's all it took. Go ahead. 50-foot double door box car. The railroad had about 100 of them. And these are interesting. This is in the 1200 series. 1200 series was cleared out for specially equipped 40-foot cars. So these were renumbered in the 13 and 14 and 1500 series based on what they were doing. Just a typical 40-foot boxcar, not much to it. Go ahead. And this is a newer car. This was built in the late 60s. There were 5 of these, and then I think 5 in another series. They had a reason for building them for some specialized work. Go ahead. This locomotive exists kind of today. It's was the first SW1 on the Monon, and they got rid of it in the late 40s. They got it in the early 40s, got rid of it in the late 40s. I think they thought it wasn't big enough, and it went to a quarry someplace over in Illinois. And somebody bought it from the quarry and brought it back to Noblesville, Indiana, and they dug through the paint and found all the original paint and painted it back to Monon colors. And everything was going along fine, and you get to see it, and you see it's a very handsome locomotive. And until they loaded it on a flatbed to take it to a new location after the museum in Noblesville closed, and they tore the cab off of it going under a low bridge. So
Is that the one with the Oldsmobile parts all around?
Yeah, probably. No, well, it was a highway bridge in this case. So the cab's a mess. It was going to North Judson, Indiana, where they have a repair shop. The last time I was up there, they had a new cab there for it. obviously come off something else. But you'll see this is an early EMD cab, and it's got the higher windows. They're kind of a semicircle that follow the roof line of the cab up there. And I was pleased to see that they had acquired the right cab to put on this locomotive. So it'll look just like it's supposed to, even though it won't be the original cab. Very nice, very handsome engine. This was taken in Noblesville, Indiana, probably less than 10 years ago. Go ahead. The Monon had two other SW1s. So after they got rid of that one because it wasn't heavy enough, they went out and bought two more. This was about 1952, something like that. I don't know. Somebody had their hand at EMD had their hand in somebody's pocket because they bought two of them and they had MU connectors and they could connect them back to back and run them together. Now, the rumor was they were going to use them on really light trackage down around Bedford. They'd hook them back to back, and they'd have between them they'd have 1,200 horsepower and a lot of axles on the ground now to be able to haul a lot around that quarry, old bad quarry trackage. Well, this one's sitting in Louisville, and it runs the switch job that goes up to New Albany, Indiana, every day. And the other one was probably in Bedford or Bloomington or Lafayette or Monon. You never knew where it was going to end up. But basically, they didn't do that. They've got the MU controls, but they just separated them. And still going to be fun locomotives to model. I've got them started, but I haven't got them finished. Um, but I think I'd like to run mine together just to see what I could do with them. So, uh, but anyway, these were the only Monon switchers that had the gold stripe continue around the back of the cab. The rest of them were black. Go ahead. This is what one of the original Monon NW2s looked like. In keeping with the steam era, these were bought, I think, in 1942. They were black, and they were numbered 1, 2, and 3. DS1, DS2, and DS3, meaning diesel switcher. And those numbers survived until about 1947 when they stuck a 1 in front of them. So 1 became 11, 2 became 12, and 3 became 13. And then they were painted black and gold. Go ahead. This is how they got repainted. I said black and gold. It's yellow and black. This is the fancy paint scheme that they originally put on all of the EMD switchers. Uh, and it's interesting. I have no plans to paint that scheme. I'm chicken, and it's not my era anyway, so I've weaseled out of that one. Go ahead, but this is the original number 1. This is the paint scheme I do have on my EMD switchers, and it's black and gold. The herald on the cab has got a red background in it, and this is the next to the last paint scheme these locomotives carry. Go ahead. There were a total of 7 NW2s on the Monon, so this is that intermediate scheme that I model and like, and it fits my era, so it works out pretty well. Go ahead. So this is the number 3 that's been renumbered to 13. Nothing particularly unusual about this. You have to struggle a little bit with those air tanks down the center. Some of them got replaced and they have a more modern air tank, and some of them have an older riveted style air tank. So you got to kind of watch your photographs on these, but generally fun to model. I built mine using Kato NW2s. They were just dead nuts on for Monon. So go ahead. Another shot of 13. Probably the same place. Now these 3 did come with those really short stacks, so they had to put extensions in them. So you got to model it that way rather than the conical stacks that the EMD NW2s came with, and all switchers really. This is on a transfer run up in Chicago. Go ahead. And here we are ready to go to work at Lafayette shops. The crews went to work up on the hill, and this is where the locomotives were sitting waiting. There were usually two crews working at any given time. This is after the 18 was sold, so it looks like the 15 and 12 are holding down the two shot or the two Lafayette switch jobs. And they're ready to go to work. Go ahead. 17 is the last of the bunch. Nothing special here. Go ahead. Now, what are we doing here? We're out on the main. This is Battleground, Indiana. And what he's doing is he's pushing that freight out of town. Uh, they come up with some horrendous consists, 150 to 200 cars at times. And I'm not saying this one has that, but they came up with just huge numbers of cars in the later years. And the switchers, both at Bloomington, at McDowell Yard, and at shops at Lafayette, would often have to push the trains out of town, both going north, where there were ruling grades, and so get them up over the hill and then cut off and come back. So that's what this switcher is doing. He had to quit switching and start shoving. Go ahead. I don't know what the hell this is, or what it was. It when this picture was taken, it was some kind of eating car for maintenance of way crews. But what was it before? And I just don't have any idea.
Looks
And
like an old business car.
well, look at the trucks. I mean, it would have had better trucks under it probably. That's yeah, it's a pre-vestibule car.
Mhm.
So we really, I'd almost thought it was like a drover's caboose or something, but no idea what it was before, and have yet to figure it out, and nobody knows. Go ahead. These are a couple of diners. These were Pullman cars that were converted to eating car service for maintenance away crews. We did a study on those, and that these cars popped up as being part of that. So and these are sitting in Indianapolis. Photo was taken from the top of the fuel tank, and that's the roundhouse in the top left. Go ahead. This was the most modern boxcar that Monon had until 1942. So a lot of these were around. They repurposed them and put them in stores department service and maintenance away service. And so this one's in pretty good shape. It's been recently repainted and refurbished. Pretty unique car. Chad Boaz makes a resin version of this that I've got to get busy and build. Go ahead. This is what the ends of those cars look like. This is one that's still in stores department service. Let's go ahead. And this is what they got to looking at after a while. The paint flaked off, and this is what they ended up looking like. There was quite a bit of maintenance involved in keeping these things fresh, and they didn't do it for stores department or maintenance away service. Go ahead. This car behind the FMs is a troop kitchen car. Has been converted to a caboose. They did this in the early 50s, and it only lasted about 4 years before these cars were. I mean, these cars had just an interesting history. A couple of them ended up as baggage cars. Then they converted 4 of them to head-in cabooses, like you see here. There were some used in maintenance away services bunk cars, but then in 1954, they all got called home, and they ended up being storage mail cars for the passenger trains that ran from Chicago to Indianapolis and Chicago to Louisville. So all of them got the windows blanked out, and the interiors were reworked. They weren't for anybody to ride in. They simply were for locked storage of storage mail. They put the mail in there and locked it up, and it went from point to point. And they had a total of 8 of these cars in that service, and 1 car was made into a heater generator car. And that's how they ended up. And then they went into maintenance away service after the passenger trains came off in 1967. And one of these things still exists down in a museum in near Huntsville, Alabama, I believe is where it's at. Maybe it's Birmingham. Not in very good shape, but it does still exist. 2205. Go ahead. This is another shot of one of those cabooses. This picture kind of leads you to believe there's a couple of stripes about halfway up, and that's not the case. That's just the seam lines that are reflecting in this particular photo. But this is what the cars looked like. They added a ladder to get up to the roof and a little platform up there. And then they had to put running boards on them. And some of the cars got end ladders also on the sides, not just the ends. And they kept their the original trucks. What are those? Allied full cushion trucks. However, in passenger service, those became unreliable, and they took them off and put AAR A3 ride or ASF A3 ride control trucks on them. Just they still
Those trucks are outlawed later.
What's that?
The Allied truck became, they were, the AAR said no more, we can't have them on the cars.
Yeah, they did that 2 or 3 times before they finally got it done. However, if you did interchange, you didn't have to do that. And or if your interchange railroad agreed to take them, so these things lasted longer than they should have. I've got a picture 1959. There's still some on,
Wow.
and what happens was the Chicago and Western Indiana agreed to let them use them going into Chicago, and of course the Monon kept them on their own lines, and then they went on the Kentucky and Indiana terminal to go into Louisville, and they allowed them to transport them that short distance. So they're 2 short distances on either end, and they had agreements they could use them, but they ultimately changed them. But you're right, they were outlawed in interchange service. But if you could get the other carrier to agree, you could do it. I didn't read a book on it, but boy, I sure read a lot of stuff trying to figure out what the date was, and they kept moving the date. Pensy got rid of them in 1955 and wouldn't take them. So go ahead. This is just one of the 9 RS2s that the Monon had. But probably what the unique thing about this is it's got one of those troop kitchen car head in cabooses behind it. It makes it interesting. The Monon's RS2s, like I said, there were 9 of them. And the history is really mixed up on these things. 2 of them were demonstrators. Some had 800-gallon fuel tanks. Some of them had 1,600-gallon fuel tanks. Some of them had heater generators. Some of them didn't. And that seemed to change periodically. But in the end, numbers 53 and 50, they were rebuilt into the 50 series. Numbers 53 and 55 had the boilers in them. And those are the ones that were used toward the last of passenger service. But you could see these in passenger service. Go ahead. This is just shot of the north end of the Monon yards, looking north, with the passenger train coming in. And I kept it to this picture to really establish the colors of the cabooses. That's a head-in caboose and then a wood road caboose, cupola style road caboose. Go ahead. And this is one of those head-in rider cars. And you got a guy there playing the role of a clown. But the little bit about these cars, Monon had 8 of them. They built the first 4 in 1946, and they were built on those stone gone chassis that I've mentioned before. They welded the top part on there, and fabricated and welded it, And one end was called the caboose end. That's the end this guy's on. And the other end was called the baggage or, no, they called it baggage end. Now, they never hauled any baggage in that other end, and they didn't haul any LCL freight in it. They hauled junk in there that they used for re-railing cars, chains and cables, re-railers, sometimes lubricants, stuff like that. The first 4 cars, they couldn't quite make up their mind. And the reason this is important, or it may not be to anybody else, but Overland Models made one of these. They only made one. And the reason was when they started, they thought they were going to make all 4 of them. And they realized that every one of them was different. The first 2 had the B end where the handbrake was on the baggage end. The second 2, of which this is one of them, that handbrake is on the A end. Well, that makes it the B end, but it was on the caboose end. So they realized that if somebody had to set the handbrake, it was easier for them to go from the caboose end where they were riding up on top and go to the handbrake and set it. So then they built them all that way after that, but the first 2 are actually reverse orientation. So you can't take that Overland model and make just anything out of it. Now that was the first 4 that had this. You see the car lines up there are kind of sharp, and that changed on the second 4, which were built in 1956. So go ahead and see if we've got one in here. This is one of the original bunch again. And this one, okay, 81211 and 81212 both had the brake on the baggage end, as you can see. Now you notice they've got a headlight. When you carry one of these behind the locomotive, it blocks the locomotive headlight. So the way the Monon solved that was they put a headlight on both ends of these cars, and then they ran the equivalent of an extension cord from a receptacle in the front of the locomotive. The BL2s and the RS2s had them, and ran that extension cord to that light, and you could actually electrified the whole caboose, and you then had a headlight where you were pushing going backwards. Go ahead. And here's another one of the series. Probably the nicest part about this picture is that reefer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead. And this is one that's been rebuilt. They put sealed windows in it. And they took the Andrews trucks. They all had Andrews trucks. This one's got a set of AAR trucks under it. That's about it. This one was rebuilt and it lived into to the end, where the first 2 did not. The second 2 did, and then they built 4 more after that. Go ahead. One of the old ones again. Got the brake on the baggage end. Go ahead. This is one of the home-built bay window cabooses. They had a lot of cupola cabooses, and they rebuilt some with bay windows, and they were all a little different. You probably had 3 or 4 variations. Go ahead. And then every once in a while, when you needed a structure someplace, it was easier just to grab a caboose body. You could find them around. This one, I think, is at Haskell's. It was used for maintenance crews, but they were in stone quarries and everywhere else. Made nice little structures. Go ahead. This one, and it's unusual and it's painted yellow. I've only seen 2 that were painted yellow. This one was spotted outside the Lafayette locomotive shop, and it was their out-of-town train crews to sleep in. Apparently there weren't that many out-of-town crews that stayed there, but I know one guy that did, and that was there's a pipe there that goes in the top of the car. That's the steam heat from the shops. And he said that it was nice and cozy, 106 degrees in there, summer and winter. So it was Had a lot of steam heat going into there, but that's where they stayed when they were laid over up in Lafayette. Go ahead. That's the other yellow car. No idea why they painted them yellow. Go ahead. This is a one of. The Monon had one thrall caboose. We think it was tacked on to the end of the 100-car composite gone order, 1952. So this was the first steel car that arrived on the railroad and the only in-cupola steel car that they had. Kind of looks like the Athearn car. I built mine on an Athearn chassis, but I built the body differently. And Chad has since made a resin body, and I'm probably ready to do that over again, see if I do a better job. Go ahead. This is one of the cabooses, 8 cabooses they bought in 1952 from International Car. It's a riveted side car. And you notice that nice silver trim. That was standard on the Monon's cabooses. All of the safety appliances were painted silver, including the steps and the ends. Notice the lettering on the side. Looks a little, can't quite tell what it is. Well, it's silver in appearance. And that is Scotch-Lite lettering, so it's reflectorized. And it's best represented with silver lettering. So I had to make silver decals to model these cabooses. This is the second paint scheme that they had that Scotch-Lite lettering applied. Go ahead. This is an example of the last cabooses that the Monon acquired. They built them at the Lafayette car shop, and they were quite revolutionary for the time. They were built in 1956, and these are all welded. You notice the nice curving car lines, and then the extended vision cupola caboose. And that was one of the state-of-the-art things. And I've got a hold of correspondence regarding these cars, and there were 6 or 7 railroads that wrote the Monon asking for copies of the plans and or information about some of the accessories that were put on these cars, like the shaft drive truck powered electrical system and things of that nature. So these were modern state-of-the-art cabooses. The L&N guys tell me, because these went to the L&N after the Monon, that they fought over them on the L&N because they rode so well. So, and there are 6 of the 8 have been preserved. Go ahead. This is one of those cabooses in the original paint scheme. The paint's faded, but it had the smaller numbers, the smaller Monon and the Herald. That's what it looked like when it came out of the Lafayette shops. That's where they were all built, was right there in shops. Go ahead. Another view in the original paint scheme. That's really about it. And this is the last slide, but this is a car built in 1956 also. And this is a transfer caboose. They built 3 of them, and no 3 of them are the same. Drives you crazy. I modeled one of them, this one, and basically it's Chad Boaz came up with the body and everything else, and you just had to scratch build the ladders and the grab irons and all that stuff. But they built 3. One was for South Hammond, Indiana, for transfers. One of them was for Louisville for transfer work down there, and then one for Monon, where they used it on a switch job that went clear across the other end of town and did have some transfer work on. That's it. If anybody's got any questions, yell.
Mm-mm.
Is anybody awake?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mont, that was
Hey.
fantastic.
Yeah, nice job, Mont. Thank you. We made it.
Yeah.
Very nice. Hey, that car, Mont, that you were saying that I said looked like a business car.
Yeah.
There were on some railroads, to me, that when I really think about it, it looks like a caboose. It's got the long extension like a business car on the end
Yeah.
and the rounded front. Some of the small railroads used them as coaches combination caboose when they were ending coach railroad passenger service, and they would be in some of the freight trains as on the tail end for coach service. It's possible they did something like that somewhere.
It sure looks like it could be, but I've never seen them used anywhere except maintenance service. So I don't know where it came from. And the diagrams don't tell you anything.
Okay.
And the acquisition records don't tell you anything.
Okay.
It's time to go to bed.
Yeah. Well,
No.
thanks again, Mont. That was a
State
marathon.
hockey
Took us
Thank you,
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, it took us 4 weeks. We skipped a week, but anyway, we did it. And thanks very much for doing that. Next week, we'll be here, same time, same station. And Mike Shockley will be presenting on Scratch Building for Merit Awards, A Tale of Two Structures. There, I got it right. And so we look forward to that. And everybody have a great Thursday. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, gents.
All right, everyone.